welcome to the Remote No Pressure Podcast. It's great to see you, Bill.
Yeah, good to be here.
This week we interview our new sponsor for the quarter from Sandhill Coffee, Phil Wingo.
Yes.
You're a coffee fan, aren't you?
I am a coffee guy, yes.
When did you have you always drank coffee, or is that something?
I was a teenager, and I remember after church they'd always do coffee. You remember when you were a kid? There's coffee hour, and you get those little cookies, those little craft cookies. Or you get the Kool-Aid without any sugar in it that just tastes awful. So I remember trying coffee with my dad, and just all the way through high school, started drinking it more and more, and it got me through college, and that was my hangover cure in my 20s and in my early 30s.
Wow. Yeah, that's my... not hangover, but when I'm up with my kids all night, which doesn't happen as much. They're a little bit older now, but I remember those days. It's like you're just dragging. You have to have coffee. But I started out how I got addicted to. But I started when I was in college. I got a job at Starbucks, and we had to pull our own shots. It was back in like '99. It was in Dallas, off Lovers Lane, for all of you North Dallas people. But we would like pull our shots. We'd actually make it. And then the Frappuccino came out and was like, holy cow, that was a big deal.
I remember that.
But they gave us 2 weeks of training before we started working. And so they would let us try all these different coffees. And I did not like coffee. I thought it was the most disgusting thing ever. I'm like, why would you drink coffee, And then you work there and you try something really sweet. And then it like kind of develops and you get more tolerant. Can you survive without coffee?
I can.
You get a headache and stuff? Or
no, I just crave it. I just first thing in the morning. That's the first thing I do. I get up, I turn the news on, and make a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, this coffee that he has is awesome, and he's a fly angler, which is a huge deal.
Yeah,
because we don't want. I mean, it's okay if people want to sponsor the show or whatever, but it was really cool that he's a fly angler and that he's like one of us. Some cool stories, and nothing's better than coffee and fishing.
I cannot wait to get the coffee out in the woods and make a big old pot of coffee,
Were you there at the trout camp when I spilt the whole French press, or it's not a French press, it's what is it called? The bubbler.
Percolator.
The percolator. Percolator.
Percolator. I couldn't say it right either.
Yeah, so Accountant Phil, and you have to get the fire going. Yeah. You have to start it. It has to get kind of big enough
Was that when we were on the hiking trail?
No,
on the Manistee?
I think it was the other one, the year before that.
Then I was not there.
Where were you? You've been to like every one, haven't you?
No, I've only been to 3.
You've only been to 3?
I've only been to 3. Yeah, remember the hiking trail?
The hiking trail.
And then the next fall, I found that little spot north of Lake City.
Okay.
And then last fall, last
spring.
No, I'm sorry. Last spring was the one north of Lake City, and then last fall was up by the Tippy.
Okay. Well, I think we've only had 5.
Okay, so I've only been to 3 of them.
Okay. I think you were there. You may have been sleeping or fishing or something. Because it wasn't no, but what happened was you need to build this fire, and it takes a real long time, you know. And then you're like, you got a headache, and you're like, oh God, I've been up, and and then we had a coffee, and it's like bubbling,
Yeah.
And so it was on that little grill thing above the fire, and I go to grab it, and I'm like, oh crap! I dropped it all in the fire, and I was like, everyone's like mad and trying to hold their cool, but everyone was ticked at me.
Not cool, Jeff.
I was like, oh my God. But are you a percolator fan?
I do like the percolator, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See,
I don't have one, but
I've got one on the stove right now.
Yep, I know.
But I only use it to heat up water.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't actually use the percolator part.
That's what a microwave's for.
Yeah, I don't do the microwave stuff too. But it's what I decided to do a few years ago was to start taking those instant coffees with me when I go camping.
The Vias.
Well, yeah.
Or from the...
I think so. From the other company.
From the large corporation.
From the large corporation. But
no, I do the same thing now too, because those are good to stick in the back pocket, and you can carry a bunch of them. You just throw it in the pot.
Yeah.
But there's something about going out on a hiking trail and making a cup of coffee. Like draw the water from the river through a filter.
Yeah.
So you don't want the diarrhea. Well, if you're boiling the water, it doesn't matter anyways.
Right.
And then, just making a cup of coffee out in the woods like that.
It is something
old school
about
style.
That. It is something about that, Mm-hmm. But anyways, well, we're super happy to have Phil here, and we're super happy to have his company, Sandhill Coffee, and welcome to the podcast. Let's light the fire. Today on the Remote No Pressure podcast, I'm very excited to have with us the owner and founder of and sponsor of our show, Phil Wingo from Sandhill Coffee. Thanks for joining us, Phil.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
You sent us some coffee, and Bill and I tried. What did you think about it, Bill?
It was good. Yeah,
it was awesome. Yeah, and the thing is, Phil, I think it was last fall, and I was making this coffee, not your coffee, but another a type of coffee. And every time I would make it, I was having these constant coughs and whatever. And I read a lot about like mold in my coffee, and I realized that I had like this Mr. Coffee machine that was really old and I hadn't cleaned it. Okay. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So my wife and I had been on this journey to find the perfect way to make coffee. And so we ended up with one of those glass beacons. It looks like I'm making some kind of drugs on my counter.
Yeah, like your homemade chemistry class.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I got Breaking Bad. It's like,
is that why you bought that RV?
That's exactly right. No, it's like my wife and I are like, what's the best way to make coffee and the cleanest way and the best way? So we ended up with this, so I've got like a thing that can measure how many grams I put to the coffee and all of that. But I mean, were you kind of like that too when you started out? Were you kind of like a coffee nerd, or how did you end up choosing coffee as your profession?
No, I was actually probably the farthest thing from a coffee nerd. So I used to only drink coffee. When I drank coffee, I was totally happy with gas station coffee. I'll admit, like a few years ago. Like I remember going through grad school and having to stay up late, doing projects and papers and just making something on my pot or going to whatever was closest or open just to grab some coffee. I would say I got really into it was after reading a couple books. That kind of opened my eyes to this rabbit hole, this world of coffee. 2 books were The Devil's Cup and Uncommon Grounds. So The Devil's Cup is kind of this guy's journal of the trail of coffee. So coffee, the legend has it that coffee originated in Ethiopia when a goat farmer noticed his goats acting crazy one day. So he followed them around to see what they were eating. Lo and behold, coffee plant. So this guy goes on this journey through the coffee trail and eventually wants to find the perfect cup of coffee in each area. And so the book ends with him going across America and him trying to find the perfect American cup of coffee. And what he stumbles across is that he's in the middle of, I forget where, like just Great Plains, Central America,
flyover states,
Central United States. And he realizes that the stereotypical good cup of coffee is one that you find at a diner that's been sitting on the heater for hours.
That's disgusting.
But just reading that kind of, opened my eyes to this world of coffee, and I just took it down the rabbit hole, and I've enjoyed it ever since.
You like that pause there? Did you notice that, Bill?
Pregnant pause.
No, I was just letting you finish since there. But yeah, that's crazy. Now, were you the same way with fly fishing when you got into fly fishing, Phil, or how did you get into fly fishing? Was it kind of a similar thing? You read a book or something and went all in, or is that something you've always done?
No, so I've always, I guess you can say, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Not really a known fly fishing area, but I would always fish the ponds around my house. And then growing up, a family member had a summer house in Southwest Michigan. So going there on a lake. So going there, we'd always bass fish, bluegill fish, nothing crazy. But I'd say my fly fishing addiction started when I went to college. So I went to Western and doing the fly fishing thing. I never did it before, but I joined the Steelhead Club at Western.
Wow. So
I realized, I need to learn how to fly fish. And the first time I took a lesson was actually on the Rogue River. It was kind of a, go out, kind of half-day lesson. We might hook some fish. We'll see what happens. So to me, it was more important to learn what I was doing. But I actually ended up hooking into a steelhead. Didn't land it, but just that right there, blew me away and addicted ever since.
Started the addiction.
Yeah, the first one's free. don't quite know what you're doing, but the first one's free, and then you can't.
Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm actually going out to the road. I don't know if I'm going to go tomorrow, but I'm going next week to fish for steelhead. So it's a great river.
Nice.
Were you in the Grand Rapids area then, Phil, or where did you go on the road?
Are we allowed to talk about spots?
Yeah, downtown Grand Rapids, 6th Street, underneath the bridge. That's a great spot. Everyone should go there.
No one knows about it.
No one knows about it. It's secret. It's very secret. Did you ever fish 6th Street in Grand Rapids?
I have.
What'd you think about it?
It's entertaining.
You lived to tell the story.
I did. Yeah, I didn't drown. Didn't fall into a hole. But I mean, I've heard some stories. I've personally have never witnessed this, but I've heard some stories of people being there at the right time when, like, after the water goes up a little bit, comes down, and all the fish in the river seem to be at 6th Street, and it's just a stupid day.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've heard stories of that, but
my father-in-law is like 6'6". He's just a giant, and like probably 5'6" of that is all his legs. So everything above his waist is like a foot tall. Can you imagine? No, but seriously, got the longest legs, and he fishes out there no problem, And I gotta have him on the story. I gotta have him show. He fishes with spinning gear, And he told me a story about being out there. He used to fish all night and then go to work the next day. And he was telling me stories about how he would fish downtown at 6th Street. Here he is with this huge graphite rod, okay, and it's lightning and thundering, and he's just hooking one fish after another. And he's like, being a young stupid kid, young and dumb, I'm here in the middle of a river, lightning all around me, and I'm swinging a graphite rod, It's like, I don't know how I survived it, but that place down there is total chaos. Like if you don't drown, if you don't, if something happens to you in the river, you could get shanked on, once you get off the river, But yeah, it's a cool place.
There in Tippy Dam at the right time of year.
Oh yeah.
Avoid those places.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Michigan's a great place to learn to fly fish. That's really cool that you have that connection with us. So when did you start Sandhill Coffee?
Officially the summer of 2018, so just last year.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please. Please. They're not here to hear me.
No, you.
They're here to hear you, Phil.
So I said officially summer of 2018 because that's kind of when the farmers market started last year. But so prior to that, it was just me doing research, kind of selling coffee to family and friends to get some feedback. So I would say I've been at this for a year and a half, just about.
Wow. Well, and as far as your process, I mean, on Instagram, you have an Instagram for Sandhill Coffee. And we've tagged you in a post already, and we'll tag you in a few more, but
I appreciate that.
But you go to South America. I mean, you really go do your due diligence for this sourcing of your coffee, correct?
Yeah, actually, a few months ago, I was down in Guatemala. So I actually stayed with one of the farmers for 4 days, and I got the full experience. I went to the organization that I went to. It's a co-op. So what that is a group of farmers that pool their beans together and they sell that a product. So I went to a few different farmers' plots of land. They were talking to us about the different types of coffee plants, explaining what they do. Then after seeing that, I got to pick some beans myself. So I can actually say I've harvested some coffee.
It's really cool.
Then after that, we learned the drying phase, what they do to dry the coffee beans, to separate the coffee beans from the cherry. So they actually the bean itself is the seed, just like any other fruit.
Wow.
So it actually looks like a cherry. So they have these machines that separate the beans from the cherry. Then after that, depending on where it's going, what it's doing, it goes through another process, which is called the dry mill. And what this does is it takes off the outer shell that is formed when it dries. So that with this, it almost looks like parchment paper. So if you had some in your hand, you could rub it around and it would fall off. But if you're doing hundreds of pounds at a time, you're not going to do this by hand.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have machines to do this. And then with this, after that parchment paper is taken off. It goes through a table sorter. So then it's a shaker table. So it's a funnel that dumps the coffee onto the shaker table. And from there's holes in this table. And as the table rattles, the coffee goes down. And the ones that are too small fall through and get collected underneath. And the ones that make it all the way through the end are, the appropriate size, and they make it to the next step. And the next step is actually pretty crazy because it's quality check, but it's all done by hand.
Wow.
So you're sitting there so the day I was there was 2 other volunteers, and all the coffee that we ran through the dry mill, before we went and had lunch, we sat there with a big pile of coffee beans, sorting it by hand, looking for any defects.
Wow.
So when I did that kind of blew my mind. So to think of all the coffee that you drink, at some point it's been looked at by hand.
Wow. Now, is that every coffee company, or is that just Sandhill in particular? Like Folgers, I shouldn't say the name, but like some of these more like
big coffee companies.
Big coffee corporations. They're ruling the coffee world. Do they have someone checking every bean, or are they more like, hey, whatever, just we'll
take the small ones too.
We'll take the small ones.
So that's done at origin. So wherever they buy it from, that's done either at the milling facility or on the farm.
Okay. Now I heard this, and I don't know if this is true or not, Phil. So please correct me because you're the coffee expert here.
I'm still learning. I'm
the guy that goes to the doctor and asks him questions off WebMD and act like an expert. Like, yeah, I know this is appendicitis, and he's like, you have a headache. No, but as far as like the coffee, like I heard if you buy pre-ground, like some of the larger companies, there's been like things inside the grounds that you may not know, like cardboard or newspaper sometimes, and they found some. Is that true, or is that like an urban legend, like needles in your candy at Halloween?
That's how the mob gets rid of.
So I mean, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
So I won't 100% say yes or no, but it's definitely possible. So here, for example, I've gotten coffee, like the bags, the 150-pound burlap sacks that I'm buying.
Uh-huh.
I've gotten rocks in there because sometimes when they're drying it at the farm,
uh-huh,
they're drying it just on patios.
Okay.
So if they're just shoveling it up, throwing it into containers,
mm-hmm,
if there's something there, it's getting shoveled up with it and tossed in.
Wow. Well, another thing too is mold inside of coffee, and you and I had this conversation offline. There's some concerns people like, oh, there's mold in my coffee beans, or in a lot of countries like Europe and those other countries, they really they manage that. Where America,
they have higher standards than Europe, yeah. In coffee,
but in America, they don't necessarily require that. But you were telling me the way you buy it, it happens so quickly that it doesn't get moldy. Am I right? Am I quoting you right?
Yeah. So and even like I would say it's what I fall into. So this whole craft coffee genre, it's a good way to compare it is to craft beer. Like it's kind of following that same trend.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is the craft coffee people are buying it almost as it's being harvested. So when it's harvested, it's being shipped and then sent to the facility.
Wow.
So there's almost like no long-term storage time.
Wow. Whereas some of the larger corporations or whatever could potentially buy something that's been stored for a while.
Potentially.
Now, you sent us some, is it called Chasqui? Is that how I pronounce that?
Chasqui,
sorry.
At least that's the way I've been saying it. So if I'm wrong,
what does that mean? What is is that a place in Peru?
No. So it's not an individual place. So what it means is I actually got that from the supplier. That's kind of what they named it.
Okay.
Because I'll admit, when I first started this, I'm like, I don't know, what do I call coffee? Do I get creative like beer and come up with names?
Right.
So I'm like, I'll just copy what the supplier's doing. I'll just name it that. but it's totally like craft beer. Like if you look at some of the names of the coffees that are out there,
right.
People are getting super creative with it.
Uh-huh.
So it's like a real open door for what you can do. But to get back to your question though, Chasqui is actually so I'm trying to think of the exact translation. I think it means, if I remember correctly, messenger. Yeah, that's it. They were messengers of the Incan Empire.
Wow. Okay, cool.
So like if they had there wasn't texting back then. So if you needed to send a message to someone or someone you knew further away, you had one of these people who, they're super fit, super athletic, and they would run the message.
Huh. So does your coffee, like, because it gives you energy, or maybe that's why they call it Chasqui? I don't know.
So at least for this, they're saying that they've picked the best beans out of the lot.
I'm opening it now, right now. You can probably hear me. I gotta smell it. Well, we'll take a minute from the podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you're enjoying it. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, Sandhill Coffee is actually one of our sponsors for the show, and we're very grateful for them.
Yeah.
And when you guys purchase products from them, you're actually helping the show.
Yeah.
So, but we're kind of old school. Like, we believe if you give us money, we could do crowdfunding and all that stuff. But we really believe, number one, there's a lot of great companies that are growing.
Yeah.
And we want to help them out. And it goes hand in hand.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you say, Bill?
I do.
So, Sandhill Coffee is great. They're a young company. They're growing and have a great product. But we also have another sponsor this quarter, Bill.
Do we now?
A corporate sponsor, from Delifresh Design.
Awesome.
What do you think about my sling pack?
I like it.
You do?
I do like it.
And you also have the beer koozie.
I do have the beer koozie.
What do you think about? Have you used it other than when we were out fishing?
I haven't been out fishing since then. I might be going out tomorrow, but it's sitting in my kitchen ready to go out.
What I like about them is they're made out of recycled materials.
I know.
So that's like a parachute, isn't it? I think it's like sail. It's a sail.
Is that a sail?
Yeah. Yeah, he takes old sails.
And the fly wallet, too. Same material?
The fly wallet, too. My fly wallet's sick, dude. I have a nice fly wallet. And I hold all my streamers in there, my streamer wallet, and then that sling pack. See, I was always, I got my vest. I was always a vest guy.
Yeah.
And then I switched over to the sling pack, his Delifresh sling pack, and I'm telling you, I won't go back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and also the beer koozie too is also recycled waders, I think.
That's what I thought. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but that's another great project. Delifresh Design. You can check them out at delifreshdesign.com. I like that name, Delifresh, because it makes me want a hamburger. But he's been on the podcast.
Or a ham sandwich.
A ham sandwich. He's been on the podcast a couple of times, and he loved the culture of the deli in New York.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
that explains the name.
That explains the name, and Delifresh Design. So thank you very much to Sandhill Coffee, sandhillcoffee.com for your coffee, and then also Delifresh Design.
One thing that I'm trying to focus on is I want you, the coffee drinker, to really know where your coffee's coming from.
Right.
So I'm fully transparent of the farm. I want you to kind of feel connected.
That's pretty awesome. Not a lot of manufacturers do that for people. Like if you buy from a big coffee company, it's just this is the dark roast, this is the light roast. They don't really tell you where it's coming from, what's in it, and that's really important. That's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a growing trend now. Almost the same thing, just like in other industries, people want to know more about what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Kind of pull the curtain back and
pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Yeah.
Right. It's Arabica. Don't worry about it. It's like a horse. No, but that's really amazing. Now, what I did before the interview, okay, Phil, is I went in and me and Bill talked about this a little bit before, so it may not be 100% accurate because, believe it or not, even though I make my coffee in like a meth lab. Bill is pretty good with coffee too, you know. So we were talking a little bit about coffee, but I went into my local grocer and I pulled up like K-Cups, and they were on sale, and it was a really big company, and they were $8.99 for 4.4 ounces. Okay,
Right.
And my calculation was it was $2.04 per ounce. Now your Chasky is $17 for a 12 ouncer on your website. Okay. Price is subject to change, but but that would be $1.42 an ounce. So, you know, that would
hold on. It's 14.
14. Okay. So let's change it on my
Price was subject to change.
Yeah. So $14 an ounce. So that's almost half the price of what a K-Cup is per ounce.
Yeah. K-Cups are expensive.
Yeah. So K-Cups $2.04 an ounce. Sandhill $1.17 an ounce if it's priced at $14. So that puts you at almost half the price. And also, what I like about the whole bean, and one of the reasons I switched to whole bean, I'm not cool. I'm not like a hipster, you know, like that, like the craft brewery people. Like,
Then what's with the skinny jeans?
I don't wear skinny jeans. My wife bought me a pair. They're sitting in my closet.
Jeans.
I can't
You need to
grow
your beard out a little bit.
I can't grow it out that big. That's the problem. So I look like Patch Adams. I get like this beard, But so I'm not really cool enough to will call myself like a real millennial. I'm a little older than a millennial. I'm Generation X. Me and Bill both are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of grew up that, but I do appreciate a very high quality product. And with a whole bean, it's cheaper. Per ounce, obviously, way cheaper than a K-Cup. There's zero waste. Where the K-Cup, I mean, there's a lot of plastic waste that's going in, and that really bothers me. And then also, to be honest with you, Phil and Bill, I don't know if this is true or not, okay? But I was thinking about this. You know how we have like these weird things, like people used to smoke, and it was like, that's true, everybody smokes. Well, it's like everyone's using these K-Cups, and we're like literally heating up plastic, okay? And like running hot water through that. And then drinking it. And I'm like, there's got to be some kind of chemical compound in the
BPAs
plastic.
are probably, yeah.
See, that's why I got you, Bill. He knows, the BPA.
He's on top of it.
He is. That's what Bill's. But no, like I'll drink a K-Cup like if I'm getting my oil changed or something. I don't have a problem with it. But I don't know like the long-term effects of the K-Cup.
I don't either. And I'm a Keurig guy too. I have the K-Cup at home. And like we were talking before the show, like I buy them by the 100 or the box of 100, and I'll do like 4 a.m. before I got to go to work, But so far, no effects on my body yet. But there might be, you never know.
Yeah.
Like a BPA buildup. I have no idea.
Wow.
Plus all the waste I've made through the years of.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
4 cups in the morning.
Yeah.
4 plastic cups.
Mm-hmm. And then I got another one at work,
You think about that.
My department, we have a Keurig in the office. We buy another box of 100 there that we all split,
Yeah.
So one thing that I found on Amazon, of course, Amazon does everything, but they actually make reusable K-Cups now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I do have one of those too.
So you can, you buy whatever coffee you like, Sandhill Coffee.
Chasky. Sandhill Chasky.
You could grind it up yourself and just fill up your K-Cup.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're not going through all that plastic
You're
waste.
not wasting.
Right.
Would you use what would
And
you
you're
use?
getting fresher coffee.
Yeah.
Fresher coffee. You know what's in it? Is it like half an ounce per cup? Is that usually what it is?
You can overfill them.
I gotta do some conversion because so actually, I'll admit I tried selling recyclable K-Cups.
Okay.
I felt
awesome.
guilty about it, but they're still recyclable.
Uh-huh.
But when I filled those up, I filled them up with 13 grams of coffee.
Wow. That's a lot. Because that's 2 cups, right?
Metric.
Because when I'm doing the drugs in the morning, when I'm making my drugs, it's 21 grams of coffee to 400 grams of water.
Right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
So that's probably like 7 grams per cup. How many ounces are in a gram, Bill?
Oh my gosh.
I should know this.
That's what Siri's for.
That's
No, doggone it, I said it wrong. And she got all of that.
she got mad. How many ounces are in a gram?
Calculation break.
Her.
But why do we have to? Okay, here we go. Marijuana. Lots of marijuana things here. 1 ounce is 28.35 grams.
There you go.
And 21 grams, which is an ounce and a half of coffee, would makes me like 3 cups of coffee.
Wow.
Am I right?
So
Phil?
then you're converting that to K cups. Yeah.
So you get way more for your money when you buy.
I gotta switch.
You got to switch, Bill.
I gotta switch over.
The crazy thing with K cups, why the maybe I'm geeking out about coffee, but you can always get a different flavor.
Yeah.
Because how there's the options of small, medium, and large.
Yeah. If
So
I'm looking
you
for
use the small one,
Yep.
it's using I forget how many ounces of water, but like a small coffee cup.
Yeah, it's a stronger flavor.
It's going to be a little stronger because you're running. It's almost going to be like a weak espresso.
Yeah, if I'm having a rough morning, I will do 2 small cups, or into my large cup. So it's like a double coffee. You know what I mean?
And then you go for the extra large one. It just feels watered down.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I don't have the experience that you guys see. Like my Mr. Coffee that I had for like 4 years without cleaning, that gave me some kind of weird cough. I think it cost like $17.99, and my wife got it for me for Father's Day. Yeah. So I'm just now getting into the nerdy kind. What about grinders, like the burr grinder versus like a regular grinder? Does a burr grinder really make that big of a difference, Phil?
I think if you're just so short answer, yes. So I'm still experimenting with grinders, so I'm still in my learning curve. But the grind size plays a huge part in the flavor. So like when thinking of different brewing methods, you have your French press, cold brew, pour over, Chemex, your standard drip maker, espresso. All of those have different grind sizes.
Wow.
So there's not just one across the board. And depending on... So a good way to think of it is the smaller the grind, the less contact time with water.
Like steep time?
Yeah. So your cold brew is like, big chunks of sea salt because that's sitting in the water overnight or, 12 hours, depending on how you do it.
Yeah.
Whereas espresso is a super fine grind, and you're pretty much, the espresso machine is just forcing water through there, forcing steam through there.
Wow, that's very interesting.
It is.
Do you think, because like a lot of our demographic, I think Bill can agree with this, they like micro brews.
Yeah.
They like that old school way of doing things. Do you think that there's do you think it's a coincidence that you can nerd out with coffee so much, considering that you're a fly angler? Because fly anglers are a lot the same way. They can really appreciate the process,
Yeah. No, totally. Because just think of all those days you don't catch anything fishing. You still enjoy casting. You still enjoy being out there.
Right.
It's like you said, it's the process. And kind of, I think it's going back to that, because if you look at craft beer, you look at craft coffee, small batch whiskey, and other liquor, everything's done like almost like locally now. Your local brewery, your local distillery, your local coffee roaster. It's kind of going back, and that's kind of how I learned this a little bit from a couple of the coffee books I read. But like pre-World War II, so the early 1900s, this is how it was. Wow. Every town had their brewery. Every town had, small batch things.
Wow.
Had their own flavor.
Kind of did the large scale corporate stuff. And it's kind of, people are wanting the smaller stuff now, small batch stuff, more unique stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, when you're down there in South America and you're going for coffee, do you ever wet a line while you're down there?
Yes, I actually. So that's one of the nice things, coffee's grown in these really nice areas.
Right.
And of course they have water there. So you can get some fishing in. And Guatemala kind of has this kind of hidden offshore fishery. You don't hear much about it regarding like, sailfish, marlin, tuna, mahi, all the nice ocean stuff that's fun to chase after. Because kind of Costa Rica gets all the publicity.
Right.
But Guatemala is phenomenal. And actually, when I was down there, I spent my first 4 days on the coffee farm and then went to the coast to go out fishing for a day.
Wow. Now, were you catching them on the fly?
I did.
That's awesome.
I wanted to stick it out and grind it out and get one on the fly. So if I went down there and didn't catch anything, that's what I was going to stick it out and try to. But I was super lucky, and the first sailfish that came into the spread, I hooked and landed.
Wow.
And it's a totally different game because have you guys ever been salmon trolling in Lake Michigan?
Yeah, I have.
I have not.
So,
With
just
plugs.
imagine. So just imagine looking out the back of the boat, and you know how you have your spread of lines?
Sure.
So I cast with my right hand. So eliminate the right half of the boat.
Okay.
So you're only trolling with half of the lures out there.
Uh-huh.
So we had 4 teasers. So teasers, just a hookless bait. And you're driving around, and when a sailfish would come into the spread, it'd be like a fire alarm. The captain's yelling down at the mates. They're getting ready. They're grabbing the rod where the fish is chasing the teaser. And what the first mate does is he plays with that teaser and is ripping that teaser in closer to the boat for you to present your fly. So It's a total bait and switch.
Wow.
So you throw your fly out there, the first mate rips the teaser out of the water, and then you're just stripping this giant popper to get this fish's attention.
What'd you think when you hooked up?
I was in shock. And then as soon as I hooked up, this thing turned and just made this jump. And if there was like a camera right next to me, it probably would look like I saw a ghost.
Wow.
Just kind of like in shock seeing this thing jump. But then after that, it was, a few more jumps, and then it was just a grind. But there is a ton of work that the captain does. So he's up top driving, and the whole time he's steering the boat back and down on the fish to try to make it a little easier for you, a lot less stressful for the fish. And that's one unique thing too that I found out when I was down there. Any billfish in Guatemala has to be released.
Oh, wow.
So they do their best to make sure that fish can survive.
That's awesome.
Yeah, wow.
That's really awesome. Well, that's cool, Phil. Well, thank you very much for spending some time with us tonight, Phil. And we're very excited to have your product on board as one of our sponsors. And to be honest with you, I love your coffee, and I think it's super delicious. And if people wanted to buy your coffee, where would they do that, Phil?
Probably the best place would be my website, so sandhillcoffee.com. Or if you are in the suburbs of Chicago, catch me at a couple farmers markets this summer.
And if they wanted to contact you, could they do it through Instagram, or what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, social media. So Instagram, Facebook, both are at Sandhill Coffee. Just shoot me a message there.
All right, great. We'll put those links up in the show notes, and we really appreciate it, Phil. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I appreciate having me on and talking.
Yeah, all right. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Take care.
Well, thank you for joining us on another episode. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
You were here for the whole episode
I
this
was.
time. What'd you
I
think?
was.
What'd you think about that?
It was fun. It was a fun night.
Yeah, you've never been through a whole interview with us.
No, I haven't.
You're the intro, the outro, the audio
I'm
guy.
the everything. I'm taking over.
You're taking over. We're slowly transitioning. No one will
Welcome
notice.
to my remote, no pressure podcast.
What? Jeff has ceased to exist. Jeff who? Just me and Meryl taking over everything. No, but thanks for hanging out. We got a couple events coming up.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
April 8th.
Which is tomorrow.
Yes.
From this publication, because this goes on Sunday.
Yes. Future thinking.
Where are we going to be?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh,
Trouts Unlimited.
PA. Pittsburgh, PA, baby. You can check out the address on our website where we're going to be, but that's going to be exciting with Trout
Yes.
Unlimited.
Looking forward to that.
And then April
23rd.
backcountry hunters and anglers. April 23rd, it's going to be in Rockford, Michigan at the Rockford Brewing Company. We're going to have we're going to be with backcountry hunters and anglers, which is going to be really cool. John Osborne, who is an author who's been on the show. He has got a great book about Michigan fly fishing. And then we're also going to be co-hosting a live podcast with the Fishing Podcast.
Awesome.
So April 23rd, be there or be square or join us on our any of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, join our mailing list, blah, blah, blah. Also, what was I going to say?
For a good time, call.
Yeah. But anyways, so join us one of those nights. Otherwise, also, that's what I was thinking. Be sure to leave a review. We really appreciate all the reviews that's been coming in. Everybody says that on every podcast, but we really do. We appreciate it more than anyone else does.
Yeah.
Everyone says that on their podcast.
Yeah.
Please leave us a review.
Leave us a review.
And I really think there is this level of
Don't
appreciation.
Don't forget to tell your friends.
Yeah. Tell your friends. But I really think like the host of the podcast really do appreciate it.
It's affirmation.
But yeah, it is.
People are appreciating what you're doing.
Unless it's a 1-star review, which we have a couple.
Hey,
to
each their own.
It is what it is, But my thing is, I really believe that Bill and me, the two of us, we probably appreciate the reviews more than the average podcasters.
Yeah.
We really do.
Tells us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong.
We really do appreciate it. This is getting really bad. I wonder if that one reviewer is still listening.
I bet you he is. And it was appreciated, actually.
It was appreciated.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, go fishing.